Here's my plan to paying off just over $14,000 of student loan debt in Australia on a Centrelink low income budget. Welcome into my channel. My name is Beck and I am an Aussie mum, 30-year-old to a medical needs child. I also have disabilities of my own. Basically, my plan is to pay it off by the end of 2026. I know it's like we're halfway through 2025, but my biggest goal is to pay all of it off by 2026. It gives me enough margin to, have a small, few stuff happen, emergencies and stuff like that. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself with that goal either, because I feel like if I were to say let's do it at the end of 2025 or middle of 2026, I think that's just going to put too much pressure on myself, and I'd rather do it at a steady pace where I still have enough to live off and for emergencies and stuff like that, rather than go all gung-ho and something happens. Now obviously this is just also going off of my Centrelink income alone. I don't know if I am going to be able to get a work from home job. That is a goal of mine in the next year, is to get a work from home job, whether that's casual or part-time preferably. So obviously if I am able to get work from home job, then that's going to change my outcome, not just financially, but also being able to pay off my debt just a little bit sooner. It's a little bit of a very, very brief background on Australian student loans, at least in my personal experience. I'm not an educator, I'm not a financial guru, I'm just a 30-year-old trying to pay off his student loans on Centrelink. So I have in student loan debt just over $14,100 in student loans. One of those is a little over $5.5 in a VSL loan, and the other one is a Vet Help student loan, just under $8.5 I believe. Editing me here, just wanted to jump in and just give you an update. So the Labor government is currently working on putting in a cut of 20% to all student loan debts, which would be awesome if I could get a little bit cut off. I do believe it's also for VSL loans as well. It says on the website it starts to roll out 1st of June 2025. A lot of us probably won't see that actually come into our accounts until later this year. We don't need to do anything, we just have to sit and wait, but I'm gonna really crack down and get as much paid off as I can so that when that does hit, it's even less that I have to pay back. That's the goal. If you have not watched my previous video, I'd highly recommend going into that, because you'll get a little bit more detail on my overall budget and my plan just as a budget in general. So my current plan is to pay off $400 a month into mainly the VSL loan, because we don't pay interest here on our student loans here in Australia. That doesn't matter, but one thing I do have to be wary of is every June, I believe, or the announcement comes in April, I think, for the indexation and how much percentage will come into our student loans. We get it the sort of middle end of April, and then it comes into effect June 1st, I believe. They do recommend if you are planning to pay it off, or at least one loan off, to have it done a few days before 1st of June, or middle of just anywhere in May, or earlier, just so when the indexation does hit, it doesn't go on to the loan that you're paying off, because you've already paid it off. The way that the repayments work here is off of income, so and it's a threshold income. So if you earn, I think now it's up to 64,000 or something like that beginning, that's when you start. I'll put up a graph somewhere here of what that looks like per income, but for someone like me on Centrelink, I've always been under the threshold to be required to make any payments. So all of my payments that I've ever made onto the student loans have all been voluntary payments, and that is something that you can do. So my plan is to just really attack one loan at a time. So I'm attacking the smallest to largest, because I do want to go by the snowball method. Basically, snowball method is just listing all of your debts, smallest to largest, and you attacking one debt at a time till that's paid off, and then you move on to the next. So at the moment, based on my Centrelink income, again, go and check out the previous video, do a bit more of a breakdown on what my budget looks like currently. But my plan is to pay off $400 a month extra if I can, towards my student loans. That gives me a good buffer to still put a decent amount in there, but also give me a bit of extra room, just a bit more margin in my budget to still save, and eventually I do want to start investing. So it still gives me that little bit of wiggle room to get me into the habit of paying it and actually sticking to it. And again, it gives me a very set goal. I can definitely achieve that with what I have, with the money that I earn. And also everything obviously goes off my living circumstances and, you know, just my overall purchases and my overall like expenses and stuff like that. So that, in a very minimal nutshell, is how I'm going to plan on paying off my student loans by the end of 2026. I've already made a $200 payment, so we are on the right track. Please let me know down below if you're in a similar boat to me. If you have more student loan than I do, I don't know how you do it. If you're in a different country, that's absolutely fine, but my focus is in Australia since I live here. So if you're in Australia, you have student loans, let me know how much you have down below, and if you plan on paying it off. If you do plan on paying it off, like, what are your thoughts on that? I know a lot of people have different opinions, especially here in Australia, because it is income based. Some people say like, oh, don't worry about paying it off, like, it's just, you know, it's gonna keep increasing anyway, like, you're just gonna end up wasting time and money. But then, you know, for me, and my personal goal is to eventually be able to own my own property, own a house. Specifically, having a HECS debt does impact your borrowing power, and also because now we have a child together, my partner and I, unfortunately, dependents also limit your borrowing power. So I would like to minimize as much of that as I can. So obviously, I'm going to like change what I can, and that is my student loans, and that's to pay them off. Also, just a side note, I just want to be debt free. Like, I'm consumer debt free at the moment, so like in actual terms of me actually needing to pay stuff, I don't have anything that I need to pay for in terms of like, you know, like Afterpay or any sort of personal loan or anything like that. So really, like, the student loans is truly off of my own you know, my own goal of being debt free and just having it off of my back, because I'm sick and tired of it looming over me over the last 5 years. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below what your student loan is and if you plan on paying it off too. And if you are, we are in this journey together. I'm right here with you. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.